Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Oh, Aurora's come to life now that I've mentioned her name. She was snoozing very soundly before I mentioned her name, and Mickey is snoozing very soundly at my feet. So, without further ado, I am going to plunge in with pointing out that today we have had the great honour and the joy and the privilege of being let in to Was Never With Love Meghan. Oh, if you would like me to cover the dastardly show, I suppose I will make the ultimate sacrifice on your behalf and do so, but only if you would like me to. There is much humour to be had in anything Meghan does, 98% of which is unintentional, which makes it even funnier. And without further ado, I'm also going to read out something that my financial genius has sent to me, because he, as you might recall, takes something of an interest in Meghan and Harry's financial shenanigans, and he breaks down all of their tax, I suppose we'll just say commitments or declarations, and the meaning of them, as those of you who follow me will know. So, he says, here is something to raise your spirits. Meghan has markled herself. In the latest issue of Newsweek, Jack Royston raises some mild criticisms of the Sussexes in the context of their charitable, in quotation marks, activities and their thirst for money. A spokesperson posted on their behalf, quotation marks. Harry and Meghan are an activist-driven brand. Oh. Does that induce yawns in you? They focus on showing up. Oh, this is still the quotation. They focus on showing up, doing good, and handing over a disproportionate amount of their wealth compared to the average Joe to good causes. I'm going to pick that up in a second, but let me finish with my financial genius's note to me. This is proof positive from their own mouths, or the ventriloquist's dummies they use for such purposes, that the vast bulk of their funds credited to the Archwell Foundation accounts since 2021, except for a few pockets of petty cash and a minor amount in the year to December 31st, 2023, has come from their own taxable earnings, Netflix, Spare, Spotify, deposited in the Archwell Foundation to avoid USA tax. I have been making this point consistently since the first Archwell Foundation tax accounts were made public, and now the Markles have confirmed it for me. I thank them for their honesty. I'm sure it was totally unintentional, my dear. As for the and Julia Roberts. I'm so just coy, and I'm so just demure. I'm still a virgin, notwithstanding the fact that I've been pregnant at least 3 times. And one of them is buried under the banyan tree. So, where was I? Oh, the disproportionate amount of their wealth compared to the average Joe to good causes. First of all, that is a blanket statement that makes no sense because it's not based on anything real. It's based on a crass supposition. And the average Joe most likely gives proportionately more of their taxable income than Meghan and Harry do. Look at the figures. They have between 9 and 11, and it used to be, I think, $13 million slushing around from one account to the other, pass the parcel game. So that, but it's to make out that they qualify for certain things, and then they are on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. It's not criminal, it's legal, but it certainly is playing the game. Let's put it that way. And they are giving a disproportionate amount of money to the average Joe. How crass, how crude, how vulgar, how absolutely insulting to the average Joe that any spokesman of theirs could make a comparison when they have gone to great lengths to point out to us that they are not average Joes. And one of their private plane flights usually exceeds in cost more than their donations to the largest of the charities that they wish to endow with their largesse, minimal as it is. I think we've got the point, don't you? TBJ says, how can Meghan write lies about Lady C, but she thinks Lady C shouldn't be allowed to write the truth? Surely Meghan can't be that stupid. Surely Meghan is that stupid. Or that delusional, which is a form of stupidity as well. Because no matter how supposedly intelligent you are, if you are a fool in the major things in life, you're still a fool. Or is she just deluded? I think she's arrogant, and I think she thinks that her rules should apply to me, which is that I should be praising her for her farcicalities and her malignancies and her posturing and little Archie prenatally doing a Tom Daly deep dive between her knees. I think she expects that I should be towing her line. Well, why would I be towing Meghan's line? Who is Meghan Markle? Or even Meghan, Duchess of Sussex? Who is she that I would be towing her line? She's very consequential in her own mind and in her own scheme of things, but she's of absolutely no consequence where I am concerned, save as an interesting and rather bizarre historical figure whose activities are so extraordinary that she has rolled Sophocles and Shakespeare into one rather calligraphic, that is not calligraphy at all, form of cursive script with curly cues everywhere, all meaningless and pretentious, just like her. If she thinks I'm not speaking the truth, she can do something about it, and I'll see her in a court of law. Somehow, I think she's going to go down the Lily Safra route. And to those of you who don't know what I'm speaking about, on the 17th of December, Netflix is doing Murder in Monaco. I'm the one who wrote the book Empress, Bianca, that is, according to Lily Safra, was a frighteningly accurate recounting of the way she murdered two of her husbands. Helen Burns says, they can desperately do whatever they want, but each and every day, more and more people see through them. I'm singing from the same hymn sheet. Her bald-faced lies in an attempt to deflect from the legitimate heir to the throne is hopeless and shows them to the world as exactly what they are. People who are trying to grab the throne as if it were a popularity contest up for grabs. Daily, she spins more garbage to get attention, not realizing that most of us are so tired of her drama, her lies, and her malice and spite. I couldn't agree more. At this point, I think the only thing that keeps people engaged with Meghan is, and Harry, but more so Meghan, is the desire to see what happens when she becomes aware of the fact that she has been comeuppance, because she has been comeuppance. It's just death by 1,000 cuts instead of one guillotine blow to knock off that thing that is filled with the hair of Turkish virgins off her shoulders. This is something I've said it time and again, and I'm going to say it not for the last time, I suppose. Something you couldn't make up. Sherry ND says, and we're getting off Meghan now, I live just outside of Toronto, and one of my real estate friends told me that there were dozens of cancellations because of Harry coming to the dinner. Apparently many emailed, called, etc., and complained about having him there, and wanted to know who the hell invited that twat. Another of my real estate friends did attend and said it was horrendous. People were ignoring him and talking during his pathetic speech, and a few apparently walked out. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to it, but that's what two people I know well who told this to me. I myself wrote to the real estate board and chastised them for having a traitor to crown and country, spewing nonsense to us poor peasants. Anyway, just thought I'd share this, as I just got off the phone with one of the people who reported this to me. Thank you very much for that. Oh dear. Why is it that Harry and Meghan can't learn that boarding lead balloons is not actually a clever thing if you wish to be buoyant? Why anybody thought that he was ever going to be an attraction is beyond me. But I suppose desperation calls for desperate measures, and desperate measures sometimes call for really stupid decisions. But how surprising is it that this has gone down like a lead balloon? Not at all, is it? Rory Asuncion says, Meghan is mega jealous of you, Lady C, and mega scared too, because you are a real threat to the fake narrative she and Hazard are so desperately trying to construct. Well, Rory Asuncion, I'm not sure that I could agree that Meghan is jealous of me. I mean, I know she's extremely jealous and competitive, and I know I live in a rail castle and she doesn't. I know that I own my rail castle and she doesn't own hers. Oh, I know that she doesn't even have one tiara, and I'm not even going to be crass enough to say how many I actually have. I mean, that low I don't think I need to stoop to. I know that she has dinky little pieces of jewellery that I certainly would be ashamed to wear, and at my age would look ridiculous on me, and on her they look equally ridiculous because she's a little bit younger than me, but she's not that much younger, and she certainly is no jeune fille to be posing and pretending, I'm such a delicate little flower, and I'm only 15 years old, and all those dinky little trinkets that suit teenagers suit me. And then make sure that everybody knows where they came from. So crass, so crude, as Nicky Haslam would say, so common. But is she scared of me? I'm assured that she and Harry are more than scared of me. I am told that when my name comes up, I am one of the handful of people, and I'm not going to include in that number his father or his stepmother or his brother or his sister-in-law, that she froths at the mouth at, and Harry gets enraged, I am told. I'm told they're petrified of me. I don't know why they would be. I only ever speak the truth, and I go off their conduct. I go off their statements. I should think, since they are so desperate for people to speak the truth about them, that they would actually be thrilled and certainly not scared. Why would anybody be scared of little old me just because I speak the truth? What do you think? I think we can really have fun with these two. Jeanette Martinez says, In regards to Ukraine being crooked, corrupt Zelensky, why is the king adamant in protecting him? Most, if not all, Ukrainians know he is corrupt. Well, Jeanette Martinez, first of all, the king is not Ukrainian. Secondly, it has been my experience over the years that sometimes our royals can be exceedingly blinkered and naive in the conclusions they come to as a result of the information they are fed. They are fed pap sometimes. There's also another issue. The king is our head of state. We, as a state, have positioned ourselves as supporters of Ukraine and President Zelensky. He is therefore obliged, whether he would like to be or not, to show support for Zelensky. And he's not the only one who has done it. The Prince and Princess of Wales, for instance. Harry was busy sucking up the other day. Of course, he's obliged to show support for Zelensky. The surprising thing would be if he failed to show support for Zelensky. And it doesn't matter whether Zelensky is corrupt or not. All that matters is Zelensky is the president of a state that we are supporting financially, politically, and sometimes even covertly militarily. Linda Hintzman says, every time Zelensky showed up in the US, he demanded big money, his words, that's right, I remember that, for rebuilding all of Ukraine, rebuilding the nuclear power plant, rebuilding the military, rebuilding the power grid. It was like a chant he would do over and over. 5 times he said it the day Trump sent him packing from the White House. When I say every time, I do mean every time. He went from the US to the UK, where he sang it to Starmer, then Macron, then to Germany, then to Saudi, then to Africa, back to the US, back to the UK, back to the EU. Money, give me big money. I knew he was loading his pockets. Then when he denied the US gave him $350 billion and said there was no sign of it in Ukraine, I knew he was grifting Ukraine and the US. I disliked him from the get-go. He took every country for money. I sure hope he does not plan on hiding in the USA when this war is over. I admit that I thought Trump had lost all his marbles too for signing deals with the grifter. I still think that quite a bit. No, and I'm going to read out after this comment something that the very eminent world expert on Ukraine, Professor Jonathan Haslam, has posted, which his wife was kind enough to send to me, because he is the world's leading expert on Ukraine. And the fact of the matter is, in my reading of it, Trump has had little or no choice to go down the road he has gone down, for the simple fact that America can no longer economically afford to sustain the rest of Europe in adventurism against Russia. Trump needs to cut the best deal he can for the United States of America. That involves getting Putin sufficiently on side for Putin to agree to a deal. This is what suits the United States of America, economically and financially. Trump will end up, any American president, whether Democratic or Republican, is going to end up cutting the best deal he can for the United States of America, as he ought to. Now, I may think that Clinton was extremely mischievous in preventing Yeltsin from joining the family of nations when Chirac, Kohl, Major, and Yeltsin all wanted Russia to join the family of nations. But the Americans saw it didn't suit them, and it certainly didn't suit them 30 years ago. It suits them now, but it didn't suit them then. So that's one of the major factors playing in all of this. Everybody has always known that the Zelensky government, as indeed have been most Ukrainian governments, corrupt. There's no secret there. None. Burisma and the Bidens are a stench that when that genie is uncorked and out of the bottle is going to cause a massive problem far beyond what you might think it will cause. And that's just Burisma. Or maybe everybody's just going to sweep it all under the carpet because they're just going to forget all the chicanery and dishonesty that has gone on, because it has suited the United States of America. It has also suited the Europeans. The two nations it has the least suited have been Russia and Ukraine, each of which has been cast by the United States of America and NATO allies into a form of existential crisis, which necessitated the situation that now exists. I don't care where Zelensky goes. I don't care where the whole bunch of those crooks go. I would just like to see the killings stop, the suffering stop, the bleeding of the nation dry to stop as well. And whatever Ukraine ends up with, that it is protected through various treaties of neutrality, so that its neutrality is protected ad infinitum, which will prevent the Americans ultimately, rather than just the Europeans, in coming for yet another bite of the cherry. And it will also give Russia the security that Kennedy rightly wanted for the United States when he took on and saw down Khrushchev. So, and having said all of that, I will now read out Jonathan Haslam's comment. So much is happening at such speed that it is hard to catch up. An article in Putin's favorite paper by the deputy head of its political department, Andrei Zobov, runs loose speculating what the current turmoil will lead to. The fact that the hardline Shligyag had the current turmoil and other papers are all but silent tells you that this is the boss talking. We need to listen to what Jonathan Haslam says. And anybody who hasn't read his book, I would recommend that they get it and read it. First is the domestic political crisis in Ukraine over corruption, which is coming to a boil. And why do you think it's being allowed to come to a boil? To lance the boil that is Zelensky and his cohorts, because they are standing between peace and keeping their noses in the trough, like the swine that they are. I should say their snouts. First is the domestic political crisis in Ukraine over corruption. In the summer, Zelensky and his cronies tried in the Ukrainian parliament to get rid of the only organs whose job it was to contain and get rid of corruption. Under pressure from the Americans, he was subsequently forced into reverse. That is this present American administration. The previous administration was encouraging the corruption. The evident distaste Trump has for Zelensky that was so obvious at White House summits evidently stems from the intelligence he has been receiving, which cannot have been flattering. Those organs restored thanks to the Americans have now been able to indict senior figures in the regime for embezzling vast sums from the Ukrainian energy industry and its protection against Russian bombing that originated from Western coffers. The main culprit named, Timur Mindich, hitherto close to Zelensky, they are all friends of Zelensky, has fled to Israel, from which he cannot be extradited. You must understand that every major Russian and Ukrainian criminal of any sense has long since discovered unknown Jewish ancestry and taken Israeli citizenship. Do you begin to see some of the connectedness and also this gross cynicism and corruption that is not only destroying lives, but also threatening to destroy our lives and our security and our peace? And now the eminence grise behind the regime. Andrei Zermak has been forced out of office, his house raided. Photos appear in the West of golden lavatories, but it's never clear whose they are. The view in Moscow is that although the British would like to replace Zelensky altogether with the former Ukrainian commander-in-chief and current Ukrainian ambassador to London, Valery Zaluzhny, the Americans prefer to use the scandal to retain Zelensky, but subject him to their wishes in negotiating a deal with Moscow on terms that favor the Russians, as they cannot cut intelligence and arms assistance as pressure because of European objections. But the Europeans are anyway, as usual, at sixes and sevens. The Belgians do not want to release Russian assets to compensate Ukraine for the war. The Italians have struck out in their own direction with the statement that they want to end sanctions against Russia as soon as a deal is signed. And the Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán has been to see Putin in Moscow and is still hosting a summit to end the war. Though the photo of him with Putin with each of them showing distaste for the other by looking the other way, does not give grounds for optimism on that score. From all this, it is obvious that the Russians rarely expect to have to please only the Americans in order to end the war. This was, after all, a war originally designed to forestall what looked like the inevitable drift of Ukraine into NATO. An aim originated in the United States in the autumn of 1994, but not made explicit in execution until 2008, when Putin warned it would mean crossing a red line. The story is in my book Hubris, and I would recommend that everybody read Hubris if they really want to be informed as to what has gone on and what is still going on in Ukraine. It was a long-term deep state objective that Biden was happy to go along with. Well, look at the money he was hoping to make. And let's remember, the first duty of a president is to his citizens. Hence the failure of the talks in April 2022 to end the war with a much publicised intervention by British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, an errand boy on a willing errand. No settlement that leaves explicit a NATO guarantee of Ukrainian security is likely to be accepted by Moscow, whether or not Ukrainian sovereignty is restored to Kiev. And at the moment, the Russians expect to take the Donbass for themselves, plus Crimea, of course. This position is so far from London's explicit aims since 2022, when it made a bold move to lead the defense of Ukraine, and the high-sounding rhetoric issuing from the Dutch and the Germans that any deal on Trump's terms will break the back of NATO politically, unless the Europeans fall in line. One cannot help feeling that the only winners out of all of this, whichever way it goes, success or failure, are going to be Putin and friends. There I disagree with him. I think another winner is going to be the United States of America. And the winning loser is going to be Ukraine. It will find itself pretty much in the same position, with one or two notable differences, that Hungary found itself in 1919. As to the NATO powers, one is reminded of Laurel and Hardy. Look what a mess you have gotten us into, as Hardy used to say, blaming Laurel for what he himself had done. And on that note, I'll say, thank you, Jonathan Haslam, for yet again, one of your invaluable contributions. I do not agree, as I said, that the only winner is going to be Russia. America is going to come out of this very victorious as well. And who knows, the rest of the world might come out of this equally victorious, because we are not going to have the provocation that has gone on for the last 30 years in trying to turn somebody who wanted to be our friends into an enemy. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of interest to you. Let me know through the comments section what ground you would like me to be covering with you on what subjects. Okay, thank you so much. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I think I've forgotten it again. Whatever it is, go rogue. Thank you. God bless. Bye bye.